A big change is coming to Turo that you need to know for the next time that you book a car. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the changes that are happening this month. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Joe. I run a rental car business here in Jacksonville, Florida. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the changes that are occurring on the Turo app that will affect how you book a reservation going forward. This was something that was told to us as power hosts back in November that it was going to be occurring in Q1 of 2024, and sure enough, it is coming to fruition. So what are the big changes that is going to be happening? It will impact the way you book a car going forward on Turo. So if you've watched my video about how to book a car on Turo, there is one part in there that talks about requests. And what do I mean by that? There are hosts that are currently on Turo that allow you to request their car instead of instantly booking the car. There is a difference between instant booking and a trip request, so I'll tell you a little about both. With a trip request, what you would basically be doing is you would find a car that you want, you would go to the end of the screen, and it would not book it for you. It would go to the host in the form of a request. So let's say you're booking a car for next week, you would be requesting the car for next week. The host would evaluate the request and then approve it. So the host basically had to take action in order for your trip to happen, which was an essential metric that we had to meet in order to be considered to be an all-star host. And then there was instant booking, which basically means it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you're requesting. If the car is available, when you get to the end of that screen and you submit the payment and you submit that you want to take the trip for whenever you're looking to take it, it is booked. You do not have to wait for it. You do not have to wait for the host to approve it. It is automatically pushed through. So now that you know the difference between the two, what is the one thing that is changing? Well, the trip requests are no longer going to be a thing. We will have to be on instant booking, so you will be allowed to book a car instantly, and this will go into effect starting March 26th. So effective on that date, there will be no cars that are now on the Turo app or on the Turo website, depending on where you're booking, where you have to request the vehicle. You will be able to book it right away. Now, this has caused a lot of buzz within the Turo community because a lot of hosts rely on the request process to be able to vet through guests and decide if this is going to be a trip that works for them or if there are issues with time frame, the guest, the location, things like that. But I'm here to tell you all of those worries are valid. That is a legitimate concern. But there is a way for us as hosts to be able to go through that process and be able to talk to Turo support and be able to talk through some of the concerns that we have and be able to come to a resolution. Now, you're probably watching this video going, well, Joe, why does it really matter to me? Why should I have to worry about what a host is deciding as far as trip requests? Well, I think the primary reason why a lot of hosts are worried about this is because there are some guests that will abuse our vehicles, that are going to be able to now instantly book a vehicle. So a guest with a 1-star rating will now be able to book a vehicle instantly. A guest who is basically looking to use our vehicles for reasons that are against the terms of service are now going to be able to instantly book. When a guest requested a vehicle, they had to write a sentence or something to explain to us what they're doing with the vehicle or why they're looking to book the vehicle. So somebody would say something like, hey, I'm looking to take my son to prom. That would prompt somebody to ask a question and say, okay, well, who's going to be driving the vehicle if you're taking your son to prom? Are you giving this vehicle to your son? Because if that's the case, he's not allowed to drive it if he's not an approved driver and he's not of age. So there are a lot of different things that we have to look into a little bit more if we're now required to have the cars booked instantly. I'm going to tell you though, in all honesty, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, it's really not a big deal. I have been looking at guests who book my vehicles instantly for a long time. I have guests that have 1- and 2-star ratings that are booking my vehicles. And what often happens is as I get closer to the trip, I'm able to look through it and find out, okay, does this guest really worry me? Is there any potential for them to do anything malicious to the vehicle or mess up my car? And if I have any reason to believe that's the case, I'm going to cancel the trip. I'll talk to Turo support. I will explain to them what my worries are. And if they approve it or they don't, I don't really have a problem with it, especially if there is documentation in the ratings that a host gave this rating to somebody. Now, I'm not somebody who jumps to conclusions, so I'm gonna be very clear about how I do my research. If I find a guest with a 2-star rating, I'm looking at this host's pattern of rating other guests as well, because I want to know if this is a one-off situation where the host only rated that one particular guest and didn't do it for anybody else, or if they have a pattern of maybe saying falsehoods and accusing guests of doing things that they are not doing. I shared this about 1.5 years ago where there was a guest, it was an older gentleman that had booked my vehicle, and he had only 1 rating for 2 stars, and basically it was a host that was complaining that this person didn't read the terms of service. When I researched a little bit more and I looked at some of the other guests' ratings, that host basically wrote that same review for maybe 8 out of 10 guests that had their vehicle. That host clearly needs to get a reality check as far as expectations from the guest, expectations as far as terms of service, and really evaluate if you want to do this or not. I have cars that come back with sand in them. I have cars that come back with food wrappers in them. I have cars that come back with all kinds of nasty things that I end up cleaning up. It's not that I have to run a carpet extractor or do any sort of extensive cleaning, but they do need vacuuming. And as I've always said before, you should not go into this app with the expectation that you should be cleaning a car out to look the same way it did when you left. Now, that being said, there is a difference between the expectations on Turo and your morals. If your morals say, I know this is an individual's vehicle, I want to clean it out and make it look nice for them, that is good on you. That makes you a much better person than what the expectations are on Turo. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not going to expect it out of you. So if you return the car back with dirt on the floor or oily fingerprints on the steering wheel or whatever is the case, I'm just going to shut my mouth, clean the car, and have it ready for the next guest. I never complain about the state of a vehicle unless it truly looks like it has been abused. And the reason why I think that way is because when you are on a vacation, I personally want you to enjoy your vacation. I do not want you to think about, oh, I have Joe's vehicle, let me make sure and clean it for him. Very nice of you to think of that, but it really is not an expectation of mine for you to do that. Now, there are going to be hosts that are watching this video. I've had people that complained to me in the comments before and said, well, that's not fair. That's what I tell my guests and blah, blah, blah. Fine. You do what you want to do if that's what you are trying to do. But I will tell you, if you are one of those hosts that is messaging a guest and saying, you need to return the vehicle the same way that it was when I gave it to you, you are not following terms of service. Plain and simple. I think I've touched enough on that subject. Basically, putting a bow on top of it, nice to have if the car is cleaned out, but not necessary. So circling back on what I just said from earlier, if you watched my how to book a car on Turo video, you are no longer going to have to worry about requesting a car. You will be able to book a vehicle instantly. So you can go onto the Turo app, find whatever vehicle you want, go straight to that end screen. If that car is available, it will get booked. You will have that car. Now, that doesn't stop a host from canceling a trip on you. So make sure, as I've always said, do a little bit of research and look at that host. I'm gonna show a little screenshot up on the screen of what to look for. So this way you know when you see a pattern of a host canceling trips, you probably don't wanna go with that particular host. Now, I'm not saying that those hosts cancel trips for inappropriate reasons. Maybe they do. But if you want 100% assurance that your trip is not going to get canceled, then if you don't see that on the host's reviews, then you are okay to go ahead and book that particular host. If you do see it on the reviews, then if you really, really want that vehicle or you really feel like you trust that host, feel free to just ask them, honestly. Say, hey, I see a lot of cancellations in your reviews. What is that about? Talk to me about what's happening. There are times I have thought about messaging guests and say, hey, this rating that you got, talk to me a little more about it. Let me understand. And the only reason why I want to message a guest in those situations is because sometimes I feel like those reviews are unwarranted. And I would like for the guests to be able to speak their mind and talk to me about it, because if it's a negative experience that you had on Turo, let me make it a better one for you. That is, if you're somebody who is going to treat my cars fairly and responsibly. Now, with that being said, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this content, please give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing if you like learning more about Turo, learning more about our business, and learning more about the family. I'm starting to bring a little more of the family members into it. I got some of the kids that want to join, so you may get to see a little bit more of the family dynamic and how all that works with business ownership. So stay tuned for more of that possibly. If you have a car that you want to share with us, leave a comment down below or send us an email. I will leave my email in the description. We can talk about your vehicle and whether it would make sense to list it on the Turo platform in Jacksonville and have us manage the car for you while you get to collect a paycheck. If you need to rent a car in Jacksonville, visit AchooRentals.com. We have everything from compact cars, and we still have that beautiful minivan ready to seat your 7 passengers nice and comfortably with lots of space for cargo. Thank you all again, and I hope you have a great day.